MiniMax just dropped M2.5, a coding model that nearly beats Claude Opus 4.6 but costs 1/10 as much. It launched just the other day. It has open weights, has 230 billion parameters, and it's built for agent workflows. If you're building AI agents, copilots, or automation tools, this will change your costs overnight. And the wild parts are not only the benchmarks, but also the price. We have videos coming out all the time. Be sure to subscribe. MiniMax M2.5 is a mixture of experts model that has 230 billion total parameters, but only 10 billion are active when it runs. So you get a huge model without paying for the whole thing every time. It's built for real-world development workflows using Python, Java, Rust, multi-file refactors, tool calling loops, even Word and Excel automation. Now, there are two versions with this. You have the standard, which is 50 tokens per second, and then Lightning, which is 100 tokens per second. It's multilingual and it's fully open weights on Hugging Face. That means you can fine-tune it, run it on perm, and avoid lock-ins. And this is where things start to get interesting for agents. I ran the same prompt on both Opus and MiniMax to build out a full-stack Kanban board. Nothing too crazy here, just enough to really get them to build something to see how they compare. The exact prompt that I used, I put in the description if you guys want to read over it. But first, we're going to look here at the Opus version, which took about 4 minutes to run. We get as we would expect. I didn't have to prompt it again. This was the final output. Everything here is super smooth. It works really good. The UI looks also pretty good for being a starter. Drag and drop works as it should. Editing tasks also work as it should. I really like this little label here with the correct folder, and it changes as we drag them. That's a cool bonus. All in all, Opus did a really good job here. That's kind of what I expected going into this. Now, on to MiniMax. This did take about 8 minutes to finish, maybe because I imported it into Cursor instead of running it on their site, but it's in Cursor. I wanted that. While it did take longer, it cost 1/10 of the price, so I'm not going to argue with that. All in all, it did a really good job off only one prompt. The UI lacks a bit compared to Opus, but we still have the same functionality. I can create tasks, drag and drop them into the correct column, so all that works great. The only thing it did not do is add that little label that I liked onto each card as Opus did. Another point it didn't get right was the ability to edit the description of the box. If I edit the description, you see here, nothing changes. So I would have to run this a second time to get that to do what it needs to do, basically. Now, that's still okay, because again, 1/10 the cost. Now let's talk about what actually matters to developers. M2.5 uses reinforcement learning for task decomposition. So it breaks problems down better, which leads to 20% fewer tool calls and 5% less token waste. If you've built agents before, you know tool calls are where things start to get expensive and they can lead to a mess. It also handles multi-file edits, run, debug, fix loops, those type of things, switching between tools without actually falling apart. On search benchmarks, it reduces search rounds by 20% compared to their previous M2.1. It supports caching too, which means repeated queries can cost less over time. You can plug it right into Llama, local clusters, GitHub automations, or your CI pipelines. Now benchmarks, right? I'm comparing this to Opus here. Well, on SWE-Bench verified, M2.5 scored over 80%. Claude Opus 4.6 slightly higher than this at just over 80% too. That's a really small gap here. On the multi-SWE-Bench, it scores over 51%, topping other open models. And on Droid, it actually beats Opus by just 0.2%. Right? So it depends on where you look here. Now, speed. It's 37% faster than their previous model. It still took 8 minutes here, okay? Opus 4.6 averages a slightly faster speed, but it does get identical when you run it in the right format. So what does this mean for you? Well, it could mean a few things. It could mean fewer retries, cleaner CI runs, less token churn, more merged pull requests. And in agentic task performance, it's matching things like GPT-5 or Gemini 3 Pro territory, but with open weights, right? So now let's talk about the part that changes things, which really here, even if it took longer, is the pricing. M2.5 standard costs 15 cents per million input tokens and $1.20 per million output tokens. Lightning is double that, so 30 cents per million input, $2.40 per output. Running Lightning at 100 tokens per second for an hour, that's about $1. If you run standard, which I actually did here, it's about 30 cents per hour. Now compare that to Claude Opus 4.6. Huge difference. $5 per million input tokens, $25 per million output tokens. Per SWE task, it's roughly 10% of Opus cost, helped by efficiency and fewer tool calls. There's also the free API tier, which is live right now. I did pay for this, okay, but they do have that. And that's where the economics really start to shift. So should you switch from Opus 4.6? Well, performance-wise, they're nearly identical. Took a bit longer, right? I was on the standard, not Lightning, but they're kind of identical. Task completion time is basically the same. Reasoning depth was comparable. Cost-wise, though, it's massively cheaper, so you tell me there. It also uses 20% fewer tool calls and wastes those tokens, like I said earlier. So flexibility-wise, it's open weights. You can deploy it locally, you can fine-tune it, that means, and then Opus still does have an edge at the very top end of premium intelligence. So, right, that's the premium model that we're still working with. Now, here's why this matters, because now you can run agents at scale without that price burden. Because M2.5 has a 59% win rate on advanced agent benchmarks, you can build autonomous repo bots, run persistent coding agents, automate enterprise workflows, right? It's not perfect, but it's really, really good for what we saw here, and the pricing is going to allow you to really experiment and put it to the full test. And MiniMax is shipping fast, moving on a months to weeks basis here. Ollama and GitHub integrations are already ramping up. MiniMax M2.5 delivers Opus-level coding performance at a budget price with open weights. That combination is rare, but 2026, who knows what we're going to see. You can test it out for free over on MiniMax or run it on Ollama or pick up an API like I did. Is this the new default model for developer agents? I guess we're going to see how that plays out. We'll see you in another video.